Welcome back to First Watch, the show that's part review, part reaction. It's Will.
It's Mike.
Today we're talking about The Legend of Billie Jean.
Oh, yeah.
This is released in 1985. We have the Mill Creek Blu-ray edition here that has the VHS slipcover, same as Chuck Norris, Silent Rage, which we've previously done one of these videos on if you saw that. And it's got the little stickers on it like it's from a video store. These are super cool. This stars Helen Slater, who is right here and right here. And Christian Slater. They are not related. No. He was only 16 in this. This was his first movie. And I was reading a little bit about this movie after we watched it, but he thought he was destined to marry her because they had the same last name. Yeah. But I had never seen this movie before.
I never even freaking heard of it.
And I really liked it. And I feel like there are a lot of these movies from the 80s that went straight to VHS or like didn't do that well in theaters that you maybe just kind of vaguely remember. You've heard of a little bit, but you don't know much about it. And you see them and you're like, I understand why that movie is not that well known, but I actually really enjoyed this movie.
It's a fun sort of coming of age teen movie kind of.
So it's like it's like a little bit more of like let me say that in a minute, but it's kind of like a more punk rock, and not in the sense of like crust punks, but in the sense of like more mainstream interpretations of what punk rock is, like a punk rock version of like a John Hughes type movie.
Yeah, like it reminds me of like a Breakfast Club or a Pretty in Pink or 16 Candles but it's things like that.
So, but it's also kind of like an 80s teen coming of age redo of Passion of Joan of Arc.
Yeah.
And they show scenes from the Passion of Joan of Arc in it. And what's also really interesting about it to me is, so, as you may or may not know, the version of The Passion of Joan of Arc that came out in the 50s starred Jean Seberg. And Jean Seberg was from Iowa. She was cast in that movie when she was like 17 through like just like open auditions. And her story is very parallel to the story of Joan of Arc because she was cast in this big movie and she was just a kid. And she actually got burned in the final scene when Joan gets burned at the stake, which is not a spoiler alert because that happened for real if you know history.
It's shocking for people who don't know any history. They're like, what?
And she actually got like burned, and the reaction to that movie was really negative and it really hurt her. And she actually ended up moving to France, and she was in Breathless, the Godard movie, which everyone knows is one of the most famous movies probably in the history of international cinema. And then she ended up working with the Black Panthers, and she was like hunted by the FBI. And like her life was really, really tragic, and it's weirdly parallel to the life of Joan of Arc, but she was this huge icon to teenagers in the counterculture, and so is Billie Jean. So it's like this weird like triple layer like meta examination of that myth.
Yeah, that was a lot of smart stuff. I just like the scene where like she kicks the guy in the nuts. That was amazing. So there's all that stuff.
The plot of this
there's all that stuff. Basically, the plot of the film is real simple. It's like a brother and a sister who are very creepily close at the beginning, if I say so myself. He has this little motorbike or a scooter.
It's a scooter,
It gets trashed by some bullies. And then they go to the bully's dad to get the money back.
Who was like a local business owner.
And he's like a little sleazebag. She goes upstairs with him, and he wants to like, have sex with her for like the money. And basically, she pulls.
And it's $600.
Yeah, it's $600. The brother comes in when he hears like trouble upstairs, and he finds a gun in the drawer. And he accidentally shoots the guy in like the shoulder.
It doesn't kill him.
No, it doesn't kill him. And so they go on the run, and everyone's coming after them. And then there's like some Home Alone stuff where they like throw marbles in the mall, and people slip and fall. And there's like the woman who does Lisa Simpson's voice is in the movie.
She's one of the friends, and Peter Coyote is in it, who was in E.T. and
like
a bunch of other movies.
Tell them about the famous scene that we both like.
When she gets her period? Yeah, there's like a scene where one of the characters who's a little bit younger than Billie Jean gets her period for the first time when they're like on the run, and it's like this, they're in the car, and she's like, oh look, I'm bleeding.
Because they were getting shot at right before, and they're like, oh, you got shot, and it's like, nope.
No, it's
like, oh, you're a woman. She's like really happy,
and, really
then it cuts like right away, and
but
it's so
like,
bad.
It's an interesting movie in that like it has female characters who have a lot of agency, especially for like the time period in which this movie came out. And it's like a female hero, and they have a little like outlaw group, almost like Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. But 3 of the 4 people in their group are women.
Well, 5 when the other guy joins in later on.
Right, and it's not. They're not like super sexualized, and it's not. it's not really about that. It really is like, and the other thing that I really liked about this movie, I have to say, and I think when I went back and read some old reviews of this movie, and I think one of the things that it was criticized for is actually something that I really like about it, which is that it's extremely earnest. And it's very like open about and big-hearted about its intentions to want to be like a very, I mean, earnest is the best word for it, like a very earnest film about like young people and their emotions and the things that they go through and like generational divides and how people tend to misunderstand one another across experiences and generations and stuff. And it's obviously it's not like an incredibly deep movie, but it's very like hard on its sleeve, and I think that a lot of people don't like that about movies. But I really I really love like Stranger Things, for instance, which I would say is like very much hard on its sleeve and like very earnest. And I feel like it has kind of a similar feeling to it. Mm-hmm. It's also about poor people, and Hollywood, and this is a Hollywood movie, tends these days not to make movies about poor people anymore. Or if they do, they're really condescending. They're not just like honest movies about what it's like to be poor. And like
these all, you could do like a trailer park.
They live in a trailer, but it's not condescending. It's not depressing like 8 Mile is. Like, and I feel like, I mean, you could probably write a dissertation on like class and who works in the film industry at different periods throughout history and why people make the movies they do. But like, it's a very honest, earnest depiction of being poor and like being from, were they from Texas?
Yeah,
like Corpus Christi area or something like that. Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's just for me, it was just a fun movie. It's a lighthearted movie. It's very inoffensive. It's like
it's very 80s.
It's very like 80s. There's some cool music in it. It's just fun.
Lots of pop songs.
Yeah, and so it's like a movie you watch and you can watch with your family, and it's just like. It's like a nice movie.
It's really fun. Yeah. You should see it. Seriously. We say that at the end of all these. When am I going to do a movie we hate?
We're just going to trash it.
One of these days.
Like
but
Star
I did
Wars.
really like this movie. So Legend of Billie Jean, we'll put links where you can go and buy this edition, watch trailers, and all that stuff. Or if you're on Instagram, you're watching, we'll like tag the manufacturer, etc.
And fun fact, nothing to do with the tennis player Billie Jean.
Billie Jean
nothing
King?
to do with the song by Michael Jackson.
In case you were wondering, it's true.
Yeah.
So check it out.
Mm-hmm.